And I began to take my ability to network and communicate and start bridging these gaps. It kept us separated, kept us at each other's throats. And if there was beefs that I could have kept down, I was gonna keep down. So I was the fixer, the connect. I was sitting in the TV room, but Obama was being sworn in, and I seen some of the most feared men from across the world throughout the country crying. I walked up and unplugged the TVs and I told them, okay, we see what he did, now what we gonna do?
All the way from Columbus, Ohio. First time in history, Dr. Sean Stevenson.
Detective Eric Klaus says BL 800 is the largest and most violent gang in the city. According to investigators, they saw an uptick in violent crime in the Wedgwood and South Park apartments on the west side and quickly figured out BL 800 was to blame. Detective Klaus says it's unlike any gang he's dealt with in 20 years of work on the west side.
My name is Sean Stevenson. I'm part of End the Violence. And what you're about to hear and see is all real. I was born in New York, in Queens, Jamaica, Queens. 13 years old and you find out you're adopted. That's not something that you hear. That's not something you've been taught. And I remember it like it was yesterday when we pulled up in Pondex, there was people all over the front yard. And I walked directly to my mother, a woman I've never seen, and fell to my knees and put my head in her lap. That was the first time I seen my mom. When I looked around and seen the conditions in which they was living and where I came from. Every week I look forward to going to spend time with my other family. And I remember my mom and dad telling me after the second week, we're gonna give you an ultimatum. The ultimatum was here or there. I couldn't have them both. My life has changed. That quick, overnight. I knew that I had to prepare to live in this environment. I became a monster. I just met my uncle a couple of weeks ago. I was fascinated with him. I like how he pulled out his money, hand me a $20 bill. I'm looking at it like, yeah. I wanted to be acknowledged by my uncle. And we pulled up on Mount Vernon. He seen somebody. He pulls over. Nigga, where my money? He yelling. He said, if I had my pistol, boy, I'd bust you. I looked at my uncle and as I went to grab it, it got caught. As I pulled out, it went off. I shot the dude in the waist. The man said, little nigga shot me. My uncle said, yeah, that's right. And I looked at him. He told the other dude standing right down the sidewalk, nephew, bust him. I point and bust. 20 minutes apart, I done shot two. I'm 14. After I shot the two dudes, I realized my uncle accepted me. He seen me. Now he got me with him all the time. And I remember my uncle giving me a ring, a pinky ring this same week. So I'm out there, I got a tank top on. I'm small, but I'm tough. I got AstroTurf shoes on with some footies and some coach shorts. I got a black tank top with a pinky ring and a motherfucking Kango. And I'm walking around like I own this shit. I wasn't the one you could tell to leave or get off the spot. I knew this was my world. And during that time frame, I was no longer a child. We moved. Now we in Carolina. I hear him and my other uncle talking. I said, what is that? It was a 16. I said, a 16? I said, what's that called? 160, 170. What? I can get that cheaper than that. He said, can you? I said, yeah. I said, give me a ticket to New York, I'll show you. Next thing I know, we go out of the airport, landed. I'm 15. Next thing I know, half a key. 3 keys. Next thing I knew, I was 15 and I had $1 million. My life has changed. And I thought about, yeah, I wish my foster family could see me now, because I got money. The best way to get something done is get somebody that people are familiar with from the community and the neighborhood to do it, which would take a lot of stress and take them out of harm's way for getting something happening to them while being in the community. I found that out later. So now I'm moving around. I'm in New York. I'm in DC. I'm in Virginia. I'm in Carolina. I'm riding around in limos. I got a mobile home. And every time I met a girl, her family would look at me and say, young man, how you acquire these things? I told them my mom and dad died. I wasn't lying. But they was under the impression they died and left me well off. And they did. They taught me how to hustle. It was instilled in me. It was in me the whole time, and I didn't know it. They taught me how to kill. It was instilled in me, and it was in me, and I didn't know it.
Reporting out of New York City suggests a dangerous drug is making a comeback. Crack sparked a crime wave in America's largest cities in the 80s and 90s and decimated communities across the country, with many black and brown communities hit the hardest.
At this point in my life, 18, 19, I just said, I'm tired, I'm through. And I was walking away from the lifestyle. I got the store and all that. I just wanted a regular life. And one day I get a call that I had. I got a call telling me that I was supposed to appear in court for a driving citation. I get a tap on the shoulder. Dude with a suit on. He said, well, you mind walking across the street? You have a warrant, outstanding warrant. We got to serve on you, you know. Can you walk across, or do we need to put the cuffs on? I said, I walked here, didn't I? I don't need no cuffs. I walked across the street, got in front of the magistrate. He read it off, and then he says, well, I can't release you or give you a bond until you appear in court. So 2 days later, I got a federal detainer put on me, a hold. Next thing I know, I'm indicted for conspiracy to sell large quantities of cocaine. They said I sold a guy some keys 5 years previous to this day. A guy that I've never even met, seen, I didn't know. I'm found guilty, I get shipped out. End up at Manchester, Kentucky. And in federal prison, credibility is not given to you by what comes out your mouth. It's what's on that paper and what people know of you from was out there with you. I was put out west where I ran into the Cartel, Mexican mob, Carmine Persico, Sonny Franchise, Benny Eggs, The Chin. And everywhere I went, I got familiar with who was on the compound with me. And I went to all the heads of the cars and did an introductory because I wanted people to know that this is my home just like it's yours. So I start building bonds, creating a bridge for communication. I did what normally didn't go on in prison. I didn't sit in a designated spot. I sat where I wanted to sit. And I got certain guys to come and sit with me in these certain designated spots so people know that it's all right for us to communicate with one another. I knew the head of each car, and we created an alliance. So every pound I went to, people knew I'm the guy who gonna make it happen, facilitate. And we all agreed that day that we all going back to our communities and our neighborhoods to make a difference. And we all wanted to be a part of that. I was in the hole, and the guard came to the door, and I had been in the hole by this time about 10, 11 months. He said, Stevenson, you're going home, your paperwork came. And that's when it dawned on me I got immediate release. I couldn't even sign the fucking paper. Plan of action. The thoughts, minds racing. I'm asking myself, am I gonna go back? But I wanted to do something different. I wanted to change the community. I wanted to bring some structure. I wanted young people to have somebody to talk to. And I used my influence to come up with this program called End the Violence. And sometimes I look back and I think today I'm glad that I didn't have all that education, American education, indoctrinated in me, because what they was trying to indoctrinate in me, that I couldn't be nothing. I would never be anything because I didn't read and write and I was a convicted felon. But because I never read any of that, it was never instilled in me. So that wasn't my be-all. I didn't think inside that box that they wanted me in. I thought outside. You know, you go to prison, they make you out to be a monster. And I think there's a lot of people in prison who are not monsters. Their fathers, their brothers, their uncles, their sons. And a lot of them people, no matter what the world says or what the media said about them, they were loving people. They were just dealing with different issues, different ways. Being a positive role model to the youth and to the adults who didn't have role models, who was looking for acceptance out here in the community. And this is what I used to talk about with all the brothers when we was locked up. What are we gonna do different and how are we gonna change the community and the suffering and the violence? And that's being a positive role model and it's being seen in a different light. Most people are under the impression that when you come home from this, you have to come with the male bravado that you did time, you was a gangster and all that. I have a different take on that. I want them to know that you can go through that and come home and be successful, but also you can guide someone to go a different path. The paths that I choose to lead people down are the ones that's gonna keep them with their families, make them positive fathers, make them positive sons, positive brothers. We can always reflect on what we did wrong to know what we need to do that's right.
Dr. Stevenson is really unique in that he is dedicated to the people. And I say that because a lot of organizations serve the people, but End the Violence is the people. And that is at the core of the vision of Dr. Stevenson, our founder.
Very few organizations are out here engaging the people that really need the resources and help. We have plenty of resources that are being, allocated to inner city initiatives. It's just at some point we gotta start thinking, do we need to change up how we spend them? Do we need to do things differently? Doc's motto was, I'll employ the hitters. I'll go take these same people who are the most dangerous people in the neighborhood and I'll use them. I'll recruit them, I'll educate them, I'll train them, and I'll teach them how to be the same people that keep the community safe.
In the violence, as a group of people that work together to combat violence at any level, because of the background of the people who do the work, and this is what makes In the Violence so unique and different from most other programs. From the top to bottom, it's lived experiences. And nobody can tell another person what they've been through if they hadn't been through it.
It occurred to me that most of the people that make the decisions for these programs and policies and relates to the community really know very little about the community. The same communities that most of these programs were focused on, they had never even been to these communities. They didn't have a realistic view of what was happening. His role with nonviolence has grown and grown. It's not just nonviolence in the sense that we got to keep the community safe. It's nonviolence in the sense that we got to create sustainability for these same people in the community so that they believe in the community, so that they can be a positive impact on the community, and they're validated in the community.
The goal is to prevent kids from ending up here. Sean Stevenson tells me, as someone who spent years behind bars in prison, he knows how to prevent kids from going down this same path.
A guy who has hands on dealing with this type of issue, who's from this issue, who lived the life that these young people look up to and try to follow behind and mimic.
Sean Stevenson is the founder of the nonprofit End the Violence.
The lack of knowledge, the lack of understanding, no one's listening, no one's talking, and communicating with the right people, getting the right people to the table, bridging the gap.
I wanted to use my influence of guys that I've interacted with when I was in the third world, in different communities, the underworld, and bring them together on a positive manner, positive note, to bring about change, the change that they never thought could occur. I wanted to use this summit to show these young people that if the guys that y'all follow or so-called look up to come together in a positive manner, there's no reason that y'all can't do the same.
He says at ETV, we influence the influencers. So the reason we can make a difference is he just doesn't engage just anybody. These are guys that got reps and credibility in the hood. And to the extent that not even the city officials understand it. You got intervention specialists sitting here that can call, that can shut things down on sides of town, that can bring people together and make a difference. But it's not always embraced by the public sector and by a lot of these nonprofit organizations because they're looking at who the messenger is. And they're not validating lived experience. Lived experience is the best kind of experience. We know that.
One thing about the youth in this era, they're not afraid of death. And a lot of them feel like they have nothing to live for. They don't know the value of life or freedom. It's just so much. I came home and I wanted to know, how could I be successful? What can I do different? I don't want to come home and be the guy who puts a package in the little homie's hand. I didn't want to brag about having the money, the cars, the jewelry, and the chicks. Because I wanted people to know you could have that same shit doing the right thing. And not everybody is given the same opportunities. It's what you do with the opportunity that's given to you. And sometimes you got to seize the opportunity. There's a lot of things I can say that if I had to do over, would I do it differently? Yes and no.
Police responded to the XO Lounge shortly after 1 a.m. Police saying Shaquille Connor was found with several gunshot wounds in the parking lot. He later died at the hospital. Police were then called to North Cassidy Avenue again just before 10 o'clock last night on the report of another shooting. And just a few minutes later, police responded to another shooting, this time on Cannon B Place, When officers arrived, they found one victim outside.
End the Violence is a community violence intervention organization. And as a nonprofit, we focus on proactively addressing violence. And that is really one of the core values that Dr. Stevenson has emphasized in this organization. And it's one of the key factors for our success. He has instilled the idea of influencing the influencer, which is another core tenet of the organization.
And what makes End the Violence so unique is the nature of the people that I've come in contact with, how we communicate, how we have principles, morals, and a bond, a positive bond. That's what makes End the Violence. End the Violence impacts the communities in every city that we go through and in, because the people that the people in the community follow, and the violence has connections to them. So when we're talking to the youth, or when we're talking to adults who think it's cool to be a blood, Crip, GD, Vice Lord, they're under the impression that if they become involved in this, that these things follow.
We can't expect the mayor to do it all. A lot of spew and hate is coming out from the most powerful place in the world. And we gotta reflect that we're not gonna let that hate make us mad. We're gonna make us move and prove that love is greater than fear. And that's what we need to do. And I say it again, let's trust each other, because I think Justice Department, the legal department, the government, we all got a part of the answer. We so full of ourselves that we don't believe we can sit together and take a little and give a little to bring it to the kids.
My favorite thing is when I meet a group of people who want to take part in something for the wrong reasons, and then to be able to get on the phone and call them right real time in their face and let them talk to the person that they're following. And that leader tells them, no, that's not what we was meaning to do with that.
It's very important to work with the folks that the community already sees as influencers, that the community picks the leaders, the community picks those that are trusted messengers. So we use relationship building with those people in order to reach the community. And first and foremost, Dr. Stevenson is one of those people, not only here in Columbus, but across the country.
You know, Sean Stevenson, who comes in and he's running, you know, this community-based organization and saying, I know how to keep the community safe. I know how to keep violence down. And you need to listen to me in the way that I'm doing it. Well, you got all these educated people, these people with degrees and spend all this money on you know, making themselves the professionals in these arenas, and they don't know the information that he knows. They don't know the culture, the language that he knows. So their first instinct isn't to embrace it, it's to reject it. Well, they weren't validating him because he's not sitting here holding the same type of education that they feel qualifies them to make all of these decisions. He doesn't look like the people who come in the room to make the decisions. So now all of a sudden, people they can't get the message because of the messenger. And they say, well, why does he dress like that? He looks like a street dude. And I would get this information. I go talk to people and they'd say, well, Sean, he yells a lot and he's aggressive, and it's like, wow, but is he right? And that was always my point. But is he right in what he's saying? It's because they don't really speak the language.
End the Violence, no matter what city we go through or come to, we're able to bring a little structure and change the behavior of the people that may be the thorns in that community. Although the city officials in the cities which we go in all the time is not open arms, because they not know the value and the reach of the organization, of the people that's in the organization. Because a lot of the times, they're not allowed to sit at the tables that these leaders think that they control. The leaders and the mayors of these cities and the chief of police do not run the city. It's the people who are a part of End the Violence that run the city, because those are the influential people. And they don't only influence from that city, they influence from every city.
But But when it comes to dealing with violence, people don't understand that some of the people who are the most violent people in your society can also be the most influential in addressing violence in your society.
So some of the people that I come in contact with while I'm out here, catching these cases that's costing them their life, catching cases where they took a life, I realize, and I've told them, and I understand what they're dealing with, because sometimes you have to hit rock bottom to understand that there's nowhere else to go but up. And you have to make wise choices and decisions to go forward. No one knows what another person's bottom looks like. Find a cause and something that you'd be willing to die for, because that's how you create your legacy. Putting in that hard work and effort to make sure what you birth is successful.
There's not a lot of people who can call to, Cleveland or Detroit or Chicago and call shot callers, call people who can really make decisions and say, bro, let me holler at you. This is what's happening. And this is what I need to happen. And this is what will be good for our community. There's not a lot of people that can go talk to family members and say, look, I need to holler at these cats over here that's talking about killing little homie around the corner. I need to talk to him, tell him to come holler at me. The average person that would do that, that's a social worker, that has a degree and all these qualifications, they would get run off the block. They wouldn't even, first of all, most of them wouldn't even have the courage to go in most of these neighborhoods where you can go.
It helped me a lot through the process that I've been going through. And it shows you different ways of how to think and to really use your head. I love the program. I wouldn't turn away from it at all. It helps you a lot mentally and physically. These people love you. If it weren't for them, I would still be out in the streets somewhere. They showed me another way, and I gave myself another chance to really open up to find out who you really are.
Involvement with End the Violence begins here, with each of us saying to ourselves, I am a part of the solution. And if that's what you start with in your heart, then you're already involved.
Becoming a part of End the Violence is something that comes from your heart. You have to want to see different, know different, and want better, not just for you, but people who look like you, people around you. And I realize being proactive, I don't need to wait for somebody to die or be threatened to intervene and intercede. I want to be there when things is going good and going bad. I want to be the person that a person can come to and get good advice, not misleading. There's enough things misleading our youth and our adults now, and I want to do something to change that.
And so what Doc has said is, I want to rebuild the community. So in rebuilding the community, he wants people to have jobs, because now they don't have to resort to violence to have jobs. He wants people to be able to eat. He wants people to have hope that when they're coming out of prisons and institutions, that they can come be a part of something that will sustain their life and not have to resort to street violence or whatever they have to do to survive.
Who is End the Violence for? And I would respond, End the Violence is for everybody, because I don't know anybody who's been exempt from violence. No matter what culture, what race, what your belief system is, violence has hit us all. So End the Violence is with everybody, works for everybody, and loves everybody, and treats everybody equal. One of the other things that makes End the Violence unique, it's not a 9-to-5 job. This is a 24-hour lifestyle. We live the life that people in the street live. A lot of people tell me, Sean, you move different. You move as if you're still in the streets. And my response is, I am. This is no game to me. I don't do this for a paycheck. I do this to save lives. In order to save lives, you gotta move like they move. That's how I'm able to put out the fires before they happen.
There's so many other variables that impact a culture, a group of people, than just what you would read in a book or studying, secondhand information versus somebody who actually lives there. You got Dr. Sean Stevenson, a dude that didn't just grow up in their inner city, didn't just grow up in these communities. He was actually had a major role in these communities at every level. You know, I'll quote Moms Mabley. And Moms Mabley said, if you always do what you always did, you'll always get what you always got. And that's real. And that's what we need the community to understand. It's time to stop thinking that everybody out there knows and has resolutions for this problem, because the problem not getting resolved.
And the violence has been around 16 years. And while doing this work, a lot of people have taken notice to the work that's being done within the violence. I was given a Lifetime Achievement Award from the President of the United States and been recognized by 3 sitting presidents. I have gotten a doctor's degree, something that I thought was out of reach and I would never touch. To know that I created this, birthed this program to help the community and at-risk youth and adults and low-income people. It makes me feel good when I wake up every morning to say I left something for my children to be proud of. I don't regret anything I've done because I was put in a position to do what I had to do to survive. And all I was thinking about is living. I knew the value of life when I was young. That's why I made sure I lived. I met my biological mother. I was about 12, 13. I was going to Hiltonia Middle School, and this little girl ran up to me, and I mushed her and pushed her down, told her back up. And I later found out that the little girl was my sister. While sitting at the dinner table that evening, her and my father decided to tell me that I have another family and that I was adopted. You're talking about being 13 years old and you find out you're adopted. And I didn't know how to feel. I know I felt light. I knew something was different. I made the decision to go stay with my biological family. I wanted to know who I was, and I told them. And my father used to say little negative things to me. And he told me a nigga who can't read and write is a dead nigga. And when he told me that, I understood I'm not gonna be a dead nigga. There'll be another nigga dead. But I won't be without because I can't read and write. I was 13 then, and I would hear that for damn near 7, 8 years of my life. When I met my biological family, I felt like I was being embraced. And all the shit that means something to the Stevensons didn't mean nothing to them. Me not being able to read and write was not a deterrent to them. And that's what drew me to them more so. I felt like I belonged here. Although they were other streets and other life. And it seemed like I got that easy. I could understand it. I could grasp it. But I think all those things put trauma in me that I was unaware of because I knew wasn't nothing gonna be easy. And this was not the life I was used to living. Me being the founder and CEO in the violence, seeing these people transform is a hell of a feeling to me because I know I didn't have that when I was coming up. But I know what makes me successful is the love for the people. And I think about what was missing when I was coming up. And I try to implement that in the people's lives that I'm in today. Myself have been awarded several times. The program itself has been awarded through the people in the communities which we affect, which is better than any award that I could get from anyone. To see a smile on that kid's face, that mother's face, that male's face of change and opportunity. Something that's not given to people. If I reflect, and I was able to go back to talk to myself at 13 as I was leaving out of my foster family's house, the advice that I would give myself would be, believe, have hope, Don't give up. Fight for what you want. Believe in your dreams. And don't allow anyone to steal your dreams or your goals. That's what I would tell myself. Be ready to fight the fight, because you know it's coming.
I am who I am, but now I'm a single parent who have a son that I'm trying to lead in the right way to do the right thing. In doing so, I got to come out here and do the right thing. This is why I'm trying to go wherever I need to go, whoever I need to see and talk to whoever, whether it be in the schools or the detention centers, because I was once in y'all's seat.